Oh, welcome everybody. I've got another wonderful conversation for you. And I'm so excited to bring this story to you because we haven't had a twin story on. And twins are quite common these days, particularly with IVF as options and things. And we often, when we're pregnant with twins, think that our choices are very limited in terms of birth. And Bianca explored this in her story and made some really interesting choices. And her journey, it has taken her through a pregnancy loss. She then had two daughters a couple of years apart and was umming and ahhing about a fourth child. And she decided to with it, and she ended up getting two for the price of one. So, welcome, Bianca. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
No problem. So, we just wanted to acknowledge her first pregnancy, which didn't end up with a baby, a live baby. She then went and had Chloe and then Bonnie. Can you just tell us quickly about those two stories and how they led you ultimately to making the decisions that you made with your fourth,
Yeah,
third and
absolutely.
fourth? Yeah.
Third and fourth, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they couldn't be any different, really. Yeah, after our loss, we kind of were drawn to the private obstetrician as a form of care. We had obstetrician here in Canberra, and everything went well. Everything went really smooth with the pregnancy, and we got to 40 weeks, and I went for my 40-week appointment. And the midwife, you would see a midwife and then go and see the obstetrician. And the midwife checked my blood pressure and immediately got up, left the room, went to see the obstetrician, and it was decided then and there that I would go for an induction.
Hmm.
And so, husband ran home, got the hospital bag, and we went straight to hospital, which was a bit of a shock. We weren't expecting to
Yeah.
have that particular day. So yeah, got to the hospital, monitoring all the things. We went overnight, had my waters broken the next morning, and just labored throughout the day. I was hooked up to the Syntocin, and that was going up and up and up throughout the day, quite an intense labor. And Chloe was born at about 5 p.m. I remember saying at the time, I must have been transitioning and saying at the time, I can't do this. And then everybody came into the room, and she was born with the Kiwi cup or the ventouse.
Hmm.
And I laid in the bed for about an hour trying to breastfeed. We had some beautiful time together, and then I felt some horrible pain. Actually, she's a Valentine's Day baby. So the obstetrician had gone off to have dinner with his wife, and unfortunately had to be called back in for, it turns out I had a vaginal wall tear. And so they took me for surgery, and stitched that up. And then, yeah, off I went home with my baby about 4 days after that. So,
Right. I didn't
not,
ask you the question, which is what I normally ask. What
mm,
sort of preparation did you do for that
mm.
birth?
Yeah, I think I did the usual first time preparation. I'll go with the flow, and I trust the medical team will have my best interest at heart. And I did read the Calm Birth book.
Hmm.
Um, but other than that, I really, so naive about what my choices were,
Yeah.
what actually meant.
Mm.
Yeah, very minimal, really.
And as you look back at that birth, Bianca, what would you have done differently in that situation?
So much. I would have pushed back on the induction for sure.
Mm.
Um, if we go even further back, knowing what I know now, I would have had a home birth straight
Yeah.
away. Um, but yeah, I would have definitely pushed back on induction. I think I would have hired a doula. I would have birthed in the public system. Yeah, just so.
Okay. So you would have made some pretty fundamental different decisions. Just coming back to the management of high blood pressure.
Mm.
High blood pressure can be a symptom of preeclampsia, but it has to also come with a urine sample and to really make sure it is actually preeclampsia.
Mm.
The other thing around high blood pressure is to take one measurement and assume that that's how your blood pressure is most of the time is a little bit short-sighted in terms of, well, I'll give you a quick experience that I had where my midwife was checking up on me for my first baby at the end of my pregnancy. I was about 39, 40 weeks, something along those lines, and my blood pressure was up. We then had a conversation and she said, "What's going on with you?" And then I had a big cry. And then she checked my blood pressure again and it was normal. And
Yeah.
then she gave me a blood pressure machine and she asked me to take my blood pressure 2 or 3 times a day just to see what actually it's doing most of the time. However, doctors are trained to not at all be medically negligent. So it's up to them to, respond to a risk factor like high blood pressure. But it sounds like you weren't actually preeclamptic. Is that right? No. It was
So I
just based on that measurement alone. Yeah.
Yeah, so throughout the pregnancy, the antenatal care was that I'd see the midwife, she'd check my blood pressure, we'd have a little chat, and then we'd go in for a scan. And I had, yeah, ultrasounds every 4 to 6 weeks throughout the
Right.
pregnancy.
Wow. Yeah.
So much, really, when I look back on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my blood pressure was a little high throughout the pregnancy.
Right. So that could have been your norm.
Yes.
We don't really know because, yeah, we try to put everybody in a, 120 over 80, and that's not how the body works. What's normal and what our baseline is an important thing to understand. But, this is medicine tries to protect us. So this is why these sorts of things can happen. So after that birth, you got a sense that you needed to do things differently for number two. Is that right?
I mean, straight after, as a first-time mom, I thought, great, I birthed my baby vaginally and it was
Yeah.
awesome and I loved it. And I'm going to have 5 children, I remember I said to my mum.
Whoa, you went on heat straight away. That can happen.
I loved it. I loved the experience. But
Yeah, right.
then as I started to look further into it and I wanted to understand why did I get high blood pressure?
Yeah. Good
Why did I end up
question.
having surgery afterwards? What can I do differently next time to make sure those things don't happen again?
Mm,
Got taken down the rabbit hole. Um, and yeah, delved into the world of birth and birth
yeah.
education and yeah, really went on the trajectory of becoming a doula at that time,
Right.
just to really understand birth, physiological birth.
Yeah. You had the calling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
So, yeah, I've been studying for nearly 4 years now.
yeah.
It's a lot to learn, but that really put me in such a better headspace for the second
Mm,
or Bonnie's birth. I knew that I wanted to not be with an obstetrician. I wanted to be with midwives because I
hmm.
understood that midwives specialize in physiological birth.
Yeah.
Um, so I went to the birth center. We were in Perth at that time. So I had a beautiful group of friends. I was in Surfing Mums over in Perth, beautiful group of ladies who all said, got to go to the birth center. It's amazing. You'll love it. So yeah, signed up there, had continuative care with this beautiful midwife who I'm still in contact with now, actually.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, she was just so supportive, so lovely, really helped me tap into my intuition and my
Mm,
what do I want in this pregnancy. It was never about you will do this, you will do that. It was what do you think about
yeah.
this? Here are your options. So
Yeah. I might just come in there. And this is for all of you listening. It's always about where you feel safe. But it also really helps to understand what underpins the different models of care. So a midwife, and by the way, midwives come in many different forms and their trainings can be different. Some of them are nurses who've then become midwives. Some of them are direct entry midwives. And their training is very much based around the physiological process of birth. They're taught and trained to trust the process more, and it tends to be more about women's choices. And so there's a lot more engagement with, who you are and what's important to you. Whereas an obstetrician is they're the end of the pecking order in terms of, if the shit hits the fan, that's where everything goes. There's a lot of pressure on them to get it right. They're trained how to manage and protect women and procedures and management of pregnancies and birth. And boy, when we need help, they're fabulous. We need
Yeah.
them. Um, However, they can be very good at making a normal birth abnormal because they're taught not to trust the process. And as a pregnant woman, you've got to, just like Bianca did, she realized that that model wasn't really her and she went a different way for baby number two. And that's what I'm, inviting you all to really think about. Where do you feel safe? What's the model of care that suits you and your specific individual pregnancy? And every pregnancy is different. So, what you did last time, you may do differently for another baby. But ultimately, it helps to understand the foundations in which those models of care are based on. And there's no right or wrong in this. I believe women know where they need to birth as long as they realise they have options. So, making that second decision, and it sounded like it was a very intuitive decision, how did that play out ultimately then for Bonnie's birth?
Yeah, beautifully. I had such a empowering and um, powerful birth with her. So in the end, we got to about 38 and 5 days, something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
midwife had gone on her 3 days off, and I had reduced fetal movement. And I called her back up and said, "Oh, I haven't felt the baby move all day. I'm not really sure, it's playing on my mind." And she
Mm,
said, "Look, just go to the hospital, get a trace put on, just, put your mind at ease, make sure Bub's okay." And I thought, yeah. By about 3 in the afternoon, I thought, yeah, I'll do that. And I went to the hospital, and they took my blood pressure at the same time as checking Bub. And of course, it was elevated.
mm.
I'm
Yeah,
been
because you're worried about your
all
baby.
day,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so they said, "Oh, you've got high blood pressure. You need to go for an induction straight away." And I said,
Ah,
"No."
interesting. Deja vu.
Oh yeah, I said I've been here before. I know what my rights are now, and what my body was telling me was, "No, you are well and healthy, and they've just checked baby, and baby is fine, so there
Yeah.
is no need." I said, "Look, no, I'll sign whatever I need to sign, and I'm going to go home now." So I
Mm,
did that. Called my midwife, or I think I just texted her and let her know what had happened. They wanted me to go back into the hospital the next day just to check what was happening with the blood pressure. I said, "That's fine. I'll come back in
yeah.
and make sure everything's fine," which I did. And they said, "Oh, it's still elevated. We think you should go straight for induction." And I said, "No, I won't be doing that." This went on for about a week, going back and forth,
Wow.
checking my blood pressure. And in the end, they sent me to the clinic. The big head obstetrician had to come in and say, "We really think you should get induced." They pulled the dead baby card and did all the things. Um, and in the end, I called my midwife. I said, "What should I do? I'm sick of this, back and forth."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, it's up to you. I'm here today, and then I've got 3 days off, and I'll be back on Monday." And she was giving me a hint then, which I did not take. I said, "Right, let's do a stretch and sweep." She said, "Okay, come on in." She did the stretch and sweep, and she said, "Oh, you're already 2 centimeters dilated." Funny that. And then an hour later, I said, "Let's break the waters. This baby's going to fall out." Because she was big. She was a big baby too.
Ah,
But that's what they were saying on the
yeah, yeah.
so now I'm
Can I just come in there, Bianca? I'm really curious. Pushing back against medical opinion is a very difficult thing.
like,
What gave you the confidence? What were you tuning into when you had a sense that my baby was okay and the pregnancy's fine? How did you know that?
I just felt it. I don't
Mm.
know if
Tell
it's
me
just
more
my
about that. What is
intuition.
it?
Yeah, I just I just really have been able to. I think at that time I was really just taking some time to myself and just checking in
Yeah,
with my body and really just saying, "Are we okay? Are you okay?" And asking my baby,
yeah,
how do we feel? We're not. I don't feel ill. I don't feel unwell. I don't feel like baby is unwell. She's big and healthy. I knew because I was carrying her and I knew she was
yeah, yeah.
awake at that time. She was head down, she was ready to rock. So
You were, though, worried about fetal movements.
there was
And
that.
it was, and boy, girls, you've got big fat amygdalas in your head, which means you've got a brain that's being developed to make you very hyper vigilant
Yeah.
around the protection of that baby, which is part of the magnificence of baby brain. So you responded to that fear. Hang on, I haven't felt her move.
Mm,
You got the okay that no, she's fine. She's just having nice big sleeps.
yes.
And then you were able to push back against that.
Yeah.
And I think Bianca's picking up on a really important point, which we often don't take into account when making these decisions, is does this feel true and right for me? Now that takes a little bit of courage to do that because it's much easier to hand the responsibility over to our medical caregivers and say you make the decision and I'll just go along with it. And I think a lot of us do that. And there's no judgment around that. We do what we do, and when we're ready to take responsibility or more responsibility, we do that. But can you just guide us through, if you can be really specific about how you knew that what was that sense and how did you know it?
Yeah, it's really hard to put your finger on that
Yeah, it is.
mother's intuition.
Yeah.
I think once I did get the okay that she was fine, um, yeah, just put my mind at ease and I
Mm,
was able to just, yeah, really just tap into, okay, my mind had stopped doing the ping pong, is she okay, is she not? The
yeah.
mind is calmed now, and I can really just tap into how are we feeling. And I
Mm,
think I did take the cues from my midwife as well. She trusted me and I trusted her in a way that,
right.
she gave me that sense of, you know your body, you know your baby.
Mm,
You tell me if something feels off. Trust that intuition.
yeah.
And I think at the time, I looked back and I thought, she's just having a rest before we go for the big day. She's just having a little moment to
So you
herself.
got a sense that she was probably, and especially when you went in for the stretch and sweep, that
Yeah,
you realized that, yeah, no, things are primed here. We're
that's
on.
did it. Yeah, when she said,
Yeah.
"I'm already dilated," and I thought, I haven't felt a thing. I didn't. But
Yeah.
she was so engaged for such a long time um, that, yeah, I just felt like she's just going to fall out. And I,
So
and
how
I
did it unfold? Tell us about her birth.
As I remember, I'll tell you, I went for the scan because they were saying, oh, it's a big baby. And I thought, oh, how big, what are we talking here? Um, and so then we went for the scan and she said, oh, you measuring it's 4 kilos. And I said, well, I was informed at that point. I said, well, it could go 15% either way.
Yeah.
Just take 15% off that and make sure I can stay in the birth center. This was before I had the reduced fetal movement. So I was really like pushing back and I had visualized this birth. I think that was
Right.
the biggest thing. I
Okay.
trusted that I visualized this birth on how it was going to be this time. And I really just pushed for to have that. Um, so in the end, yeah, I said, okay.
Oh, sorry, we lost Bianca there for a little minute. So, Bianca, tell us, you had the stretch and sweep, and then what happened from there?
Yeah, had the stretch and sweep, and then we gave it about an hour. Got into the birth suite, got ourselves set up. I had my affirmation board. I remember I had my clary sage on my little washcloth, and we got a birth ball. We just set the place up ready to go. And my husband was in there. I had worded him up this time as well because partners really do make a difference on
Oh,
how your
yeah.
birth unfolds. And so his title was Keeper of the Cave. Um, He was,
A big silverback gorilla,
yes, that's
keeper of the
right,
cave.
protect that space. So he was fantastic. And yeah, so we broke the waters. I was on the birth ball, and I had been on the birth ball like a lot during the end of the pregnancy. And we actually barricaded me we pushed the bed up towards the couch, and I was on the birth ball in between the couch and the bed. And so no one could get to me really. I was kind of in this little bubble. And just, yeah, stayed on that birth pole until I had this almighty contraction that just reverberated through my whole body. And I was like, right, get on the bed on all fours. And yeah, pushed her out. It had been an hour and a half in total, pushed her out.
Wow.
Yeah, just powerful and so empowering to have pushed back on what I was being told and to really trust my instincts.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turned out she was 4.5 kilos.
Oh, bless her. What a beautiful, healthy baby.
Super, super healthy. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and
That's lovely.
unfortunately, they were worried about her sugars. So they tested her sugars, and we ended up in hospital for about 4 days after that, just with
Right.
obstruction. She got jaundice, which was under lights for a few days. So
Yeah.
amazing birth. Unfortunately, in the hospital, I checked myself out after about 4 days and said,
Yeah.
we're home, we've got to just get into our own space and get into our routine and let me
Away you
rest.
went.
And away we went.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you had a little bit of a journey as to whether to have another child or
Yes.
not. Do you want to
Yes.
speak briefly to,
Yeah.
because more and more on this podcast, I'm talking a little bit about the inner work that is often we're invited to do to really unlock our potential as women in this space because we are growing. We're growing and changing. And the power of really working with some of the inner limitations, patterns, imprints can be very, very helpful as as more is demanded of us as mothers. So tell me about that little bridge between 2 to 3 and 4.
2 to 3 and 4, yeah. So my
Mm.
husband is one of three and planted the seed one day. Oh, we could go for a third. And I think this was, excuse me, about a year after Bonnie was about a year old. And he said, should we go for three? And I
Oh,
said,
he
no
went on heat.
way. No way we go for three. Um, I said, if we do go for three, we'll wait for a while, which in hindsight, I'm glad we did now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think so Bonnie's 4 now. It was around when Bonnie was, yeah, 2.5, 3 that I said, okay, maybe we could go for three. But I really just wasn't confident in my own parenting style. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of parents that I talk to say their second born really tests them.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, if I have another child like Bonnie, that number three she's a free spirit. Her birth is such a reflection of her. She's powerful,
Yeah.
empowered in herself. So um, I was very much on the fence for a long time. I call it my ping pong mind. I was, will we have a third? No, we won't. Yes, we will. No, we won't. And it was absolutely driving me insane. So I actually went and did a breathwork session with a beautiful local lady here. Um, she's been on your podcast. I don't know if you want me to say her name,
Lovely
but
Shelby. She was on not so long ago. Yeah.
yeah, so amazing. Just had just the most beautiful experience with her in her home. She was pregnant at the time, and it was really just going through doing the work, like you say, like
Mm.
really reaching in deep and saying, can I be a mum to three children? Can I, you know, it's such a big responsibility to raise human beings in the world, and I don't think just, oh, we'll just have a baby, it's fine, and you fall pregnant or you don't. It's a real journey.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, we went through some really deep things, about
Mm.
my relationship with my mum, my confidence in myself and my abilities. And then it's at the end of the session, I had a vision of me in a birth pool. And so I was like, right, well, that's it. The universe has told me we're having a third. And yeah, basically conceived that afternoon.
I think that's funny.
I like to think
And
I'll be.
yeah, wow. Yeah, it is. I've got in my community, I've got one of the mothers came out this week and said, "Oh, I'm not sure whether to have another child," and she was giving us all the reasons why. And I said, "Look, this is not a mind decision. This is a heart decision, and you need to kind of tap into a much deeper wisdom around whether this is your path or not."
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
obviously, it was your path. And then at 11 weeks, you discovered you're getting two for the price of one.
Yes, exactly. Which just crazy, we fell pregnant, and I've been very fortunate in my pregnancies, never been really sick or had any
Right. Oh,
real
that's good.
issues. So lucky. And
Mm.
so didn't even realize I was pregnant until like 9 weeks. And then when we finally got into the scan, the sonographer said, "Oh," straight away, she put the wand on. "Oh, do you see what I see?" And I just laughed and cried. I said, "Two." And I looked over at my husband, and he was sitting there looking at what car we got to get, what changes to the house we're going to have to do. He went into the whole,
The
logistical
practical side of it
mode.
all. Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
tell us then, Bianca, how with that news and then making the decision around model of care again, how did you navigate the decision making around where to have your baby? And then tell us about your preparation for these two.
yeah, so straight away, as soon as I knew that we were going for a third, I actually had said to my husband, right, we're going to go for a third. This is how it's going to unfold. I want a home birth. I want to move to the coast, and then afterwards you get the snip. Those three things. And he said, whatever you want. I trust you. I trust you. You've done so much work. I trust you
Mm,
know exactly what we need to do. And so, yeah, I called around a few midwives in Canberra and found the beautiful Amanda Axelby, and just connected with her so much. Um, but obviously, after the scan with the twins, it kind of threw a spanner in the works. And I told her straight away, I texted her and said, "Oh, plot twist, we've got twins." And she said, "Oh, I don't know if I'm the right midwife for you. Have a couple of days to think about it." And I did. And straight away, I thought, no, I still want a private
yeah,
midwife. I still want that continuity of care in my home. I want my girls to see what it looks like to have that care, and everything that entails. And we just had the most beautiful relationship from the start. Um, yeah, and so it was a real easy pregnancy, really, considering it was twins. I
yeah.
did get enormously large at the end. Um,
What sort of preparation did you do from here?
Yeah, so I really just tapped into all of my knowledge as training as a doula,
Mm,
really just tapping into my intuition,
yeah,
asking the babies, how are we doing? I did have an osteopath kind of every 4 weeks, just making sure my body was staying strong. I saw a naturopath, making sure I was fueling my body correctly. You need to eat a lot more with twins and get them nice and chunky so that they're ready at full term.
yeah.
Um, what else did I do? Yoga, did some beautiful prenatal yoga with offspring here in Canberra. Um, what else did I do? Just
That's
yeah, just really
beautiful.
looked after myself,
Yeah, yeah.
blocked out everything else. I finished work at 32 weeks because I
Yeah.
kind of got to the point where I couldn't walk from the car park to the office without becoming breathless. But
Mm.
yeah,
So in your situation then, Amanda couldn't work with you at home. That was part of her registration requirements.
yeah.
So in terms of place of birth, how did you navigate that?
Mm. Yeah, I still so desperately wanted my home birth.
Mm,
And I still envisaged that that's how it would unfold right up until the last minute. And Amanda and I had some conversations about, her registration would be on the line if she supported a home birth. And
Yeah.
I expected that, we had such a good relationship that I don't want to put your registration in jeopardy at all.
Mm.
Um, but I still want my home birth. And so I had to go through, yeah, like a real dark night of the soul and just question, could I free birth these babies? Is that what it means? Is that what I'm going to have to do
Yeah.
in order to get the birth that I so badly wanted? Um, but I think in the end, I was like, I'm just going to let it unfold how it unfolds.
Yeah.
And so we kind of met in the middle. We stayed home for as long as possible. Actually,
Mm.
it's funny, I tell you, in the lead up, I just desperately wanted to go into labor naturally. I wanted the babies to decide their birthday because the last two births, well, three births, they were all meddled with in some way, shape, or form. So I was just desperate for them to go naturally. And then we would go from there, whatever came. I'd just trust my instincts and decide at that point in time.
Mm.
Like the Sunday before they were born, um, Bonnie and I were in the garage. I was organizing, as you do, nesting in the garage, like the babies care what's in the garage, but these things that we do. Bonnie and I were in the garage and she grabbed her bike and said, I'm going for a bike ride. I said, no worries. And I thought she'd just be in the driveway like she normally is. Anyway, a couple of minutes later, I went out to check on her and she was gone. Gone, completely gone.
Oh my goodness.
And I went into panic mode. I ran upstairs. Andrew, quick, get on your bike, get the car or something. Bonnie's gone. She's taken her bike. She's gone. And so I'm walking down the hill. I'm walking up the hill. I said, she's probably gone to Grand. I was frantic. I was thinking, oh my gosh, what's up? She's going to get hit by a car. Where is she? And I'm, trekking around, and Andrew had taken his bike and he's riding all around, went down to the school, went to the shops, went everywhere.
Oh wow.
Anyway, I've got Chloe with me. Come on, we go up to Grand's. And we're walking up the hill, and Andrew had got there before me, and she was in the backyard just playing at Grand's house. And we got there, and she said, oh, Grand's not here. I said, no, darling, she's at church today. And so I was just in this panic,
Oh, it's a wonder you didn't drop those twins right there and then.
right?
Oh.
And so everybody was on their bikes except for me. And we were walking back from Grand's house. So lucky she lives just up the road here. We're walking back from Grand's, and Chloe was behind me. And something happened, and she got scared, and her bike ran into the back of my leg, and I fell to the ground.
Oh goodness.
Luckily, it was just like a slow motion fall. I went to my knees and then I went to my hands, and I was on the grass already because I had heard her coming behind me. So I just moved off to the grass so she could ride past me. And I just fell to the ground and I just sat there. And she came running over and she was crying. Oh my gosh, Mum, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I started crying and we just cuddled. We just sat on the grass and cuddled for a minute and had a good cry. And then I said, come, we get home. And we all got home, and I just took myself into the bedroom and just let it all out. I just
Oh.
cried my eyes out. And then,
Oh, we've got to just stop there
yeah,
because this
yeah,
is typical birth readiness behavior.
yeah.
So as women get closer to the end of their pregnancy, they can be traveling along fine and looking forward to it and everything. And then there's that big emotional meltdown. And I
Mm,
always say, I call it I shouldn't say this on the recording, but I call it the effort moment. It's where you just get to the point where you've been holding on, holding on, holding on, and then you've just got to let the floodgates open and let those tears and feelings come through. And what that does is it brings you into a much riper and ready state to let those babies go. Is that what ultimately happened?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
there
was
you
a real
go.
surrendering moment. I'm not a big crier. I hadn't cried throughout the pregnancy.
Yeah,
All of that emotion and the tension that that whole morning had brought, I just needed that release.
yeah.
Yeah, just to let it all out was just exactly what I needed. Just so.
Mm.
And I say that to people now, just go and watch a really sad movie, have a big cry.
Yeah, let the emo
Yeah.
because we can store it and be, I've got to cope, I've got to cope, I've got to cope. And we can
Yes.
hold on and hold on and hold on. But ultimately, the best conditions you can be in for going into labor is the fuck it moment where you just go, fuck it, I just cannot hold on anymore. I've just got to go
Yeah,
with what is. I can't control
exactly.
this. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm about to walk into the mystery
Yeah.
and letting go. And that sounded like a beautiful, big letting go moment.
Yeah, it really was.
Mm.
Yeah, and my husband's so supportive. He was like, "Okay, girls, we're gonna go now." Um, and he ran a bath. I had a beautiful bath, and then that night I had my clary sage and oils, and I was rubbing my belly, sitting on the bed, rubbing my belly, singing to the babies, and saying, "I'm ready now. You can come whenever you're ready." And of course, the next morning the waters broke.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
4:30 on a Monday morning, my waters broke, and I had Bonnie was in the bed with me, and I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, it's actually happening. This has never happened before. And I just took a moment for about half an hour. I just laid there and held Bonnie's hand and brushed her hair and just thought, this is the last time you're going to be my youngest, I just really like
Yeah.
went into that moment. And then I got up and said to Andrew, my waters are broken. Nothing else is happening. Just relax, just get some more rest. And he couldn't. Oh, right. Okay. And he went on the computer and completed some work that he needed to do. And he went into, very practical mode.
Mm.
And we called Gran and she came down and got the girls off to school. And throughout, from that morning, from 4:30, contractions started to really build very gradually, very slowly. I'd go out and pack a lunchbox and then go back to my bedroom and have a contraction and come back out and make sure their bags are packed and then go back in my room and have a contraction. And um, I don't know that the girls really knew what was happening. I think they were just off to school, we're off we go. Um, and so, yeah, told Amanda, waters have broken, nothing's happening yet, early days. Um, and yeah, so then it was just my husband and I were at home together. I got the ball out, I was on the ball again. I got in the shower. I think I was in the shower for about 15 minutes. But honestly, I was just, I've got a video, Andrew videoed me sitting on the ball, having a contraction, very just calmly, silently sitting there, staring at the floor. And I remember watching the video back going, in my mind, I was saying, is that a contraction? Doesn't feel very strong. I wonder how far along I am. Anyway, just, just very, very mild, very, yeah, nothing really to panic about. And I wouldn't panic anyway, but, just, I wasn't in a
Mm.
rush anywhere. I wasn't, you know, but in hindsight, Andrew says, I've seen you in labor. And he said, do you want to go to the hospital? Do you want to, do you want me to run the bath for you? Like, what do you want to do? And I said, change the sheets on the spare bed. I was just getting him to do these jobs around the house that didn't mean anything. I think
That
it
was
was,
on your to-do list.
yeah, I think it was just my way of saying, go away, let me just do what I need to
You
do.
had a bit of clout to get the to-do list done at that
Yes.
point. He would have done anything for you. So,
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. And so yeah, I got out of the shower. I was in the shower and he said, what do you want to do? Amanda's waiting at the hospital for you. Oh, and it was his job to contact the photographer and the student midwife and let them know.
yeah.
My photographer was overseas and my student midwife, he put her number in his phone incorrectly. So
Oh, so he missed that.
I had no idea at the time, but he said, oh, everyone's at the hospital. What do you want to do? And I was in the shower. I said, oh, okay, message them and tell them we'll be there in about half an hour. And he said at the time, he goes, half an hour. I've seen you labour before, and we're not half an hour away from having these babies. Um, And in high, for me, I was like, I just got dressed, put some mascara on, put
Oh,
my
goodness. You were going to look good for this birth.
yeah, I was just like, whatever, going out, gonna go shopping, for all I cared. I was completely
You were in Labour
fine.
land.
Yeah. And so grabbed my handbag, sunnies on my head, stepped out the door, and as soon as I stepped over the threshold, boom, the head, the head's right there. And I
Oh,
said,
my goodness.
baby's coming now. And Andrew said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I can't get down the stairs. I couldn't, every step down the stair was like another contraction.
So the baby's head was actually out.
Well, it was right there. It was
Right.
right there.
So you were crowning.
It's definitely crowning. Yes. And so in the end, I said, well, that was one of the things I said to him too, change the sheets and put a towel in the car. And so luckily he had the towel in the car. He said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I've started now. I've made the decision we're going, so let's go, continue on. And so he helped me down the stairs. I had another contraction at the garage door, trying to get in the car, another contraction at the car door. I could not sit on the seat in the car, so I ended
No.
up kneeling on the passenger seat and locking my arm around the headrest and
Wow.
holding on for dear life. Um, and he was so calm and so just, he was amazing, best birth partner ever. He called Amanda and said, look, Bianca's pushing. We're on our way to the hospital. And she could hear me. And I was
Mm.
pushing, that really guttural
Yeah.
sound. She said, pull over. I'll come and meet you. Call an ambulance. And I said, do not stop. Get to the hospital. I'm not having this babies on the side of the road. Um, and so, yeah, the longest 9-minute drive in history, but pushed the whole time. And his head was being basically held in by my underwear.
Wow.
We got to the hospital and there was two midwives with a really wide wheelchair. And I have no idea how I got out of the car and into that wheelchair. But again, kneeling on the wheelchair, holding onto the handles on the back of the wheelchair. They raced me through the hospital, up the elevator, they have a twin birthing room, into the room. And one of the lovely midwives, Joe, said, can I cut her undies? I said, of course you can. And he came flying out.
Wow.
And yeah, they were just, everybody was running everywhere. They didn't know what was happening. Um, but I was just laughing. They put him up through and put him on my chest, and I was just laughing because he had done
Oh,
me on the way through.
oh,
That
little spout,
contraction as well.
little boy.
Yes,
Yeah, they spout everywhere.
yes, yes. So there was just
Oh,
bodily fluid everywhere, and
beautiful.
I've got photos. I'm just laughing my head off, and I'm like, it's a boy.
After two girls, you cracked a boy.
I know, yeah, pressure was off then, the boy had.
Yeah, yeah. So what about the second baby? How did that
Yeah.
unfold?
So then, of course, the obstetrician comes in and says,
Yeah.
oh, we need an IV, we need to do break your waters, we need to put a catheter in, we need to do all this,
Oh, wow. Fast, fast, fast.
And I was still laughing. I laughed in his face. I said, no, 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 we'll have none of that. Thank you.
You were you were able to say no in that condition. Wow. I bet that went down a treat.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
Oh
so
dear.
with Amanda being my middle, she was there. She was there the whole way through.
Mm,
She did exactly what she would have done if she had have helped me at home.
yeah.
She sat back and let me do what I needed to do. She knew my photographer wasn't there, so she filmed the whole thing. She caught it all on video and took some beautiful photos.
Wow.
Um, But in some of the videos, you can see the obstetrician, he's standing there with his arms crossed, standing back against the wall,
Mm,
on the edge of his seat. You can see he just wants to jump in, but he's
poor
really,
darling. That must have been torture for him to
um,
put his hands on, to sit on
oh,
his hands and
yeah,
trust.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So how did it unfold? Tell us.
yeah. So yeah, I just said no, no, no. he said, "Well, can we just make sure baby two's head is down?" And in that moment, I said yes. Looking back, I should have just said, that was yes for him. I knew she was
Mm,
fine. Like I knew
mm,
all the way through it was funny. The scans that we did have, I think we had maybe two or three, had a beautiful sonographer, and she was saying, "Where do you think babies are?" Before she even looked. And I
mm,
said, you know, Sophie's on this side, her back is here. This is, I didn't know that their sexes. We didn't get them. We didn't find out. But I was always with Lockie being on the left-hand side. He was behind the placenta, so I didn't feel him as much, and I was
right.
worried that he would come out second because I think with twins they always worried about the second being a
Yeah,
little
they do.
worse off. And so when he came out first, when I felt that that left side had, he was on the
Mm,
left and he came out first, I had no issues. I was like, that big baby is on the right, and if she comes out second, no worries, like
mm,
dramas. And so in my mind, after Lockie was born, I kind of went into, okay, it's just one baby now. And I've done that before, so this is easy. This is the easy part, and
mm,
the hard part was just over in a flash. Um, so yeah, the obstetricians, can we just check the heads down? And I said yes. But baby was so far down, he had to get Andrew to lift my belly to try and get down to see where the head was. And I was like, if you're trying to see where the head is and it's that far down, you know where it is. You don't have
yeah,
to
yeah.
turn on ultrasound. Anyway, he said, "Oh, we need to break your waters," and I said no. And he just left the room then, and we were left to our own devices. They still had the lady in the corner taking notes, and there was
Mm,
a pediatrician at the resus table, and
yeah,
Andrew was right by my side. He was holding Lockie, giving him skin to skin, and just giving me light touch massage, just reassuring words like you're doing amazing.
mm,
And I think the midwife, yeah, because Amanda had to basically step back. She was a doula or a photographer.
yeah.
She couldn't do anything medically. But the midwife that I got was amazing. Is so excited to have twins. All the midwives are so excited to see naturally.
Yeah, vaginal twins, yeah.
Yeah. And so she said, "You want the bed up?" And she just put the bed up, and I leaned over the bed and just labored. And it got so intense at one point. It was about half an hour later that she arrived,
Right.
but in that half an hour, I probably had 10 minutes before contractions really started strong again.
Yeah.
And it got to about the 25-minute mark, and I said, "Break my waters." I think I had a crisis of confidence. I had, this moment of this is taking too long. Let's go. Let's get things moving.
Mm,
And I kind of look back and wish that either my husband or Amanda had stepped in and said, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I think you're about to transition, and this is
yeah. You get a bit results oriented by then, don't you? You just want
yeah,
it out. Yeah.
yeah." So I'm pretty sure that's what had happened because
Transition.
yeah, we broke the waters, and straight away she was coming out,
Yeah.
and I went into a bit of a panic mode. In the photos, you can see I'm white knuckled. I'm holding onto the edges of the bed, holding on for dear life because this baby is just coming out
Really
uh,
quick. Yeah.
really quickly. Yeah, and it took me a moment, but I just had to tap into breath. Like breathing is just so powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I ended up just reaching down and putting my head on her hand, and I just breathed her out. I just deep in through the nose and pushing her out, but um, yeah, breathing through my mouth and almost like blowing her out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Keeping your lips loose. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And
Beautiful.
I just breathed her out, and they put her up on my chest. And to me, she looked fine. She was mouth open, trying to cry. I think she was
Mm,
just trying to land because that breaking the waters just brought it on so
yeah.
fast. I think that was too
Would have
much for
been
her.
fast for her too. Yeah.
And so she was quite purple, and the pediatrician had come over and said, "Can we take her? Because she's purple. Like, look at her
Mm.
skin." And in the video, you can see I grab the towel off the pediatrician and I'm rubbing her back and I'm saying, "I'm here. I've got you. I've got you." And it takes me a couple of minutes, but I say, "Okay, you can take her." Um, and then I have Lockie on me and they work on her on the table. They had her on the table for about 20 minutes.
Hmm.
Amanda said, and I kept looking over and she was fine. She was pink, she pinked up right away. And Amanda said if we were at home, I wouldn't have worried about her. She just took a
Mm.
little longer to land, but she was totally fine. At one point, she was trying to crawl off the table. Um,
Wow. Where's my mum?
yeah, getting back, and she's
Oh, Bianca.
such a mummy's girl at the moment. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Wow, this story is incredible. And I hope you've had me on the edge of my seat the whole time just to see birth as a normal event is hard for us to do in the modern world because our minds are so full of noise and so full of opinions about what's right and what isn't and what should happen and what shouldn't. And it's very difficult for us to trust our own intuition and our own capacity to know what we need for both ourselves and our babies. But you demonstrated that so powerfully with all of your stories, and your journey into motherhood has been a big, big journey. What have you, just to really bring us home now, what have you learned about yourself as a result of going through all of those births?
yeah, it's been a big journey into
Mm,
really, I would say during pregnancy, I need this epic birth so I can be an epic mum. I need
mm.
this to be really powerful so I can prove to myself that I can do this. Being a mum of four is not easy, you know yourself.
I do. Yeah, it's a big
Being a
job.
mum in general is not easy. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, having the birth that we did and really trusting myself and the process and standing up for myself, like advocating for myself as much as I needed to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it just has proven to me that I am capable of hard things. I am capable of being a mum of four. Um, I am capable of asking for help when I need it. Um, and I am capable of being a good role model to my kids and showing them you are powerful as an individual. Yeah, and just owning your decisions and trusting yourself.
Mm. Wow. 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 My goodness. I think I'm in Labour land myself listening to that. I
I
just,
love reliving the story. It's just
yeah.
so, so powerful.
And I really want to thank Bianca for sharing, this very personal story and deeply transformative story where she really had to rise up at each turn and twist and, make decisions from that higher, more wiser place. She had to push back against medical advice in certain situations. And even at the very end, she was still doing that for herself. But ultimately, she had that conviction and confidence to really trust. And that doesn't always happen with our first babies because, we have to learn. And sometimes learning the hard way is the most powerful way to learn. So there's no right or wrong when it comes to welcoming our babies and making these decisions. But I think the more as women we can tap in, we can move beyond the noise and tap in to that inner wisdom that we have, that sense of, no, it's okay. No, my baby's okay. No, this is what we're going to do. No, I don't need that. The more we can kind of, tap into that and reassure our caregivers with that level of conviction that we're taking on more responsibility, then I do tend to think we're always much happier with the results afterwards because it's not a nice place to be when you feel like things have been done to you without your consent or full understanding of what the trajectory of those decisions leads us down. So lots of learning in these stories, and I hope you've really enjoyed this. And a big thank you to Bianca for coming on today. And we'll
Mm.
see you next time. Bye for
Thanks.
now. Thanks, Bianca.
Mhm.